Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pixelated Sausage Show. I was like, this intro is quicker, yes, except when I stop to talk about the intro, but it lacks the personality. I want to find some in between the old intro and a new intro. Maybe I just end with a showy show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi. How are y'all doing? Hopefully well. I am, of course, your host, Mark Kuznez. That sounds good. I don't even know if I've already introduced myself. We're going to keep all this crap in there, though, because that's how we roll on the Pixelated Show. And by we, I mean me. Yeah, I've got games to talk about. I'm going to get to them fairly quick. It's been a week. I've been trying to just relax and take a breather, take a week off, kind of. Still streaming, but streaming less. Doing some shorter streams. Just playing a new game every night, which is more of a factor of me starting the week with Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney and realizing it was partially a test, but also I really wanted to get back to the game. It suddenly crept on my mind. But I wanted to see how viable it was for me to stream a game where I am almost exclusively reading aloud for the entire stream. Can I sustain nearly 4 hours every weeknight of just talking? And sure, I do a fair amount of talking to the chat when streaming, but there is still a lot of downtime, a lot of time for me to just recollect myself, to not talk, to not feel like I'm gonna lose my voice, and so on and so forth. And after about 2 hours, I was probably already tired after an hour of just straight talking. But after about 2 hours, I realized this is just not the kind of game I can stream. I am in awe of those who can talk without any breaks with games like this. But that is not me. So after I came to that conclusion, I decided to turn this week into a fun little break where I've played, in addition to Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, I played a bit of Sweet Carole, which I'll be talking about later when I get to what I've been playing this week. And that was last week, because this is only, I'm recording this Thursday evening before I do my Thursday night stream, so I've only streamed 3 days. So play some Sweet Carole and Demonschool, which is another game I'll be talking about in a little bit. Before I get to all that, the Xbox Partner Preview Showcase, whatever it was called, that happened earlier today, and I just finished watching that. It was okay. As to be expected with these partner showcases, it was fine. The standout for me was, well, one, finally, Dave the Diver is available on Xbox. It only took, 2 years? I don't know. It is so sad that the kind of things to get excited about for we Xbox users, I don't like to call myself an Xbox fan, especially not now, and not really ever. I never felt like the biggest Xbox fan, because I don't love a lot of their games. I'm not a Halo person, I'm not a Gears of War person, but I like the ecosystem. And probably the closest I ever was to calling myself an Xbox fan, and I probably even did. I probably would have considered myself a fan of Xbox and what they were doing at the time, was when they were really in the trenches, in the deep with the Xbox backward compatibility program. When they were announcing new batches of games, 360, original Xbox, or the backward compatibility program, I was all about that. It was so exciting. They did so much. I wish they continued doing it. For me, at least in the current situation, the current climate, that would be a great way to counteract all the negativity. If they said, yeah, because I don't know, with emulation and stuff like that, like, okay, we're working towards this new Xbox thing we're doing where it's going to be a hybrid PC, and it's basically a PC. We're just getting straight into emulation, and now we can't give you all these games on the digital store to rebuy because of licensing and so on and so forth, but we're basically going to turn the next Xbox into a emulated 360 and Xbox, so that if you have the discs, you can still play those games on your console. You need the disc though, you need the disc. Let's be clear, you need the disc. But if you have them, so that the next Xbox is not only an Xbox and then a Steam launcher, just a PC that has a Steam launcher, Epic launcher, so on and so forth, but it also is like an analog device. Well, not analog because it won't be hardware based, it'll be software based, so more in the polymega space, but you can play your entire Xbox library on this system if you get the one that has the disk drive. That would be a way of getting me still excited about Xbox. I don't know. I don't think it'll happen, but it's a pie in the sky. Wouldn't that be exciting? But Dave the Diver finally coming to Xbox is great. I'm excited about Clover Pit, I believe it's called, coming to Xbox. I think that's also an available now one. And I'm excited about that because one of my very, very good friends, he just recently mentioned the game in his current top, it's like a top 6 of the year. Doesn't have quite enough games to fill in a top 10, but it was in his top games of the year, and he is someone whose opinion I value greatly. So yeah, I'm excited about that, even though we don't always agree on things. But maybe with games we're more alike. With movies, we have our differences in maybe large part because of genre taste. I am very much so into that Asian martial arts and so on space. He's very in the horror space. I fucking horror. No, sir. No, thank you. But those were exciting. And then the big reveal of the showcase, for me, that was the most exciting, was Vampire Crawlers, which looks to be this deck building first person dungeon crawler. And I love games like that. I specifically love first person dungeon crawlers a la Etrian Odyssey, Legends of Grimrock, so on and so forth. There's so many others, but those are the two that really stick out to me when I think about those types of games. And it looks like it's in that move one space at a time. Every time you move, every action you take, the enemies will do their own individual action, which I love. I really, really, really love that classic rogue-like structure and gameplay, whether it be first person or over the top. I was such a huge fan of Dungeons of Dreadmore, if anyone remembers that game. Way, way, way back in the day. I'm still bummed that it never came to consoles. I know there was a point where they said, this is coming to 360. That's how old the game is. This is the 360 generation. And that never came to fruition. I think there's maybe, I went to the forums because I was looking at it, thinking about it recently. And I think there's apparently an update planned for soonish. I don't know. Not anything to do with it coming to consoles, just a Steam update. But that is the game that stood out to me very easily as the one I'm most interested in. Other than that, I don't know. It was fine. It was fun. I was expecting because I don't know if that's on the store today, but it's all but assumed it's going to be available very, 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 very soon. I was surprised that Silent Hill 2 coming to Xbox wasn't part of the program. And then this just reminded me, it has nothing to do with Silent Hill, but the new elusive target for Hitman is going to be Eminem hiring you to kill his alter ego Slim Shady, which I think is very, very fun. But with that, it's just another thing I won't experience because the elusive targets I've talked about before, once I miss one and I see that little gray "you missed it" thing in the menu, I'm out. Once I've missed one, I just feel like, yeah, well, I'm never going to have a complete set, so now I don't care anymore. And I really wish elusive targets were available all the time, and it was just the window for earning some kind of, whether it be high score or XP bonus or something. I understand that the reason why you have these limited time events and limited time rewards and all that is to incentivize people to keep coming back. But for me, it does the opposite. At least once I miss one, I'm done. Then I fucking don't play your game ever. Whereas I'd still be playing Hitman pretty regularly if I just didn't hate the elusive target system so much. I didn't even come back to play the Jean-Claude Van Damme one. Am I really going to come back to play Eminem? No. That's why I hope if they ever stop supporting the game, make some kind of huge DLC, elusive target, etc. Just do all the rewards, the items, and just sell that. It might bum some people out who've earned those over the years, but I don't care. They earn them. They're not going to have to charge $100. I'll pay that, all right? I'll pay your blood money for all the Hitman blood money. Anywho, let's get on to what I've been playing, starting with my favorite game of the year, which isn't really saying much because I have played a lot of games that have come out this year, but they are very often much smaller scale games. I don't play any of the heavy hitters like Expedition or Clear Obscure Expedition 33. That's the name, right? Or Blueprints, or what are the other big ones? Donkey Kong Bonanza. Bleh. Let me just go to Open Critic and see. This is how bad I am. I can't even remember the big games that came out this year. Hades 2. What the Seance of the Blake Manor? What the fuck is that? Silk Song, Split Fiction, Trails in the Sky, first sure. Death Stranding 2, Monster Hunter Wilds, Keep Driving, Deltarune, Chapters 3 and 4, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Battlesuit Ace. What the fuck? Shujinku. This shit is this. Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo. Oh my god. Sektori, though, is currently number 20 with an 88 on Open Critic. This game is fantastic. Sektori, Sektori. But I love this game, and clearly a lot of other people love it too. It is basically the return of Geometry Wars. I have no idea if anyone involved in Geometry Wars is on the team responsible for this, but it is so clearly inspired by Geometry Wars. It feels like it could have been called Geometry Wars, and you wouldn't have blinked an eye at that. It is so good. An arcade, fast-paced twin-stick shooter where you're taking on a bunch of different waves of enemy types in these small arenas, trying to build up your combo, survive, avoid them, and just last as long as you can, with a whole bunch of different modes that will ask you to do different types of things, from a mode that is similar to pacifism mode where you can't use any of your weapons and the only way you can damage enemies is by going through these gates. Except for I think there was a gates like mode in Geometry Wars 2, maybe. I wish there was a true pacifism mode because I love that in Geometry Wars 2. But you have other ones that ask you to boost through these certain power-ups, and that's the only way you can really damage enemies. A very traditional arcade mode where you're just lasting as long as you can and so on. And then it has this campaign mode. It's kind of main mode where you have to do well enough to unlock the first more traditional arcadey mode, and then with each additional mode you have to get a certain score to unlock the next one. I unlocked all of them. For some reason the leaderboard was not working for me. The global leaderboard was not working for me for any of the arcadey modes. I don't know what I was doing wrong. I've had the game for a while. It just came out the 18th, but I've had the game for much longer. But the campaign mode is very interesting because it kind of feels like a shmupification of the Geometry Wars playstyle, where you're taking on these enemies as they continuously spawn in, but then eventually you will hit a boss fight, which is new. I don't remember Geometry Wars ever having any kind of boss fight things. And the boss fights are fun. They're well designed. And when you complete that, you just start another area. And the area is fun too, and how it transforms. So you're in this space, but it'll keep transforming, whether it opens up more or closes in or segments off various parts of it that have little, not bump, I was gonna say boost, but jump pads that allow you to jump from one area to another. There's not that much to say about it, really. It feels very, very good, and it looks very, very good. I can't stress enough how Geometry Wars this game is. The second I started playing, probably 5 seconds into playing, I'm like, oh shit, this is just Geometry Wars. This is Geometry Wars. And it made me realize how much I miss Geometry Wars and games. I love twin stick shooters in general, whether they be in this arcadey fashion or stuff like what we got from 10 Tons Limited on, I think it was last generation, the Xbox One generation. We got so much from them. Tesla versus Lovecraft. Oh god, I'm gonna blank on all of them. Judge, but with a Y instead of a U, and a whole bunch of others. 10 Tons Limited really killed it in the twin stick shooter space last generation. Their first game, I think, was Crimson Land, and then they just released a whole bunch of different ones that would introduce very specific mechanics for each individual game, whether it be, I think, time recoil? There was one where you could slow down time, and it's just, I love twin stick shooters. And Geometry Wars has always been one of the best, and Sektori is right up there. I don't, there's a part of me that thinks maybe with time, more time I put into it, it could go above Geometry Wars, but you need more time with the game. I need more time with the game because I've only dabbled in a lot of it because I wanted to try all the different modes and the campaign. It's just very, very good. If you like arcade games, and if you're especially someone who is of the age that you play Geometry Wars, you love Geometry Wars, you miss Geometry Wars, Sektori is that. That is 100% the but yeah, Sektori, fantastic game. I can't recommend it highly enough. Winter Burrow is a game I played under very unique circumstances. listening to some real life things outside of the game that were affecting me mentally and probably taking away from my overall experience, because I was streaming this as well. The most terrible, worthless stream I've ever done. But Winter Burrow is that survival game with the very cute art style of the mouse and all that people were excited about when it was first shown at an Xbox showcase, maybe over a year ago at this point. I was never that excited for it because I didn't think it looked that great, and I still don't think it looks that great. I think your little home inside the tree stump looks pretty nice, but when you're outside exploring the world in the cold, I think it looks fine. That's not important though, but in the few hours I put into the game, it's very traditional survival-like mechanics. You've got your tools, your axe, your shovel, and you're going around collecting resources to craft items and so on and so forth. And there's a narrative that is pushing you along. You're a young mouseling, your parents died, and now you're back at their home stump. And your aunt was nearby helping you out. She gets taken by, I believe, an owl, and now you're trying to go find her. That's at least where I am in the story. What I find annoying about it from a survival game way is that with a game like this that has a very cute and inviting aesthetic, this cute art style with the mouse and all that, I want a more casual experience, or I at least want the ability to fine tune it in a way that makes it more casual and accessible. There's no difficulty option of any kind, no ability to adjust how fast you get cold and all that, because you have a hunger meter and a cold meter. I think that's it. You have a stamina bar, but it's not stamina that you gradually lose over time. It's just, think in an action game when you're rolling a lot and then you have to wait for your stamina bar to refill up before you can use actions again, that kind of stamina bar. But the game is very, very annoying and tedious in how the cold system works, because you get cold very fast, which means you'll go out of your tree stump for a few minutes, let's just say 5 minutes, and then you have to get back to your tree stump in order to warm up. There are some fires you'll find, some places for fires in the world that you'll find that you can use, what is it, to ignite it. Not flint. You can use some kind of thing eventually that you discover to light fires in those designated spots. But at least where I'm at in the game, I can't create a campfire myself anywhere I want, which would obviously be very helpful. There are certain areas when you're exploring where you'll meet other NPCs, and those areas will be warm for you. So that is helpful. But the constant requirement to go home or find one of these fires is annoying. And what makes it even more annoying is that there is no map in the game. I don't know if you will eventually find one, but where I'm at currently, and maybe forever, there is no map. So you have to remember where everything is. And because I was partially distracted and just having a horrible night, the time when I died, and I died because I just stayed out too long and I couldn't get back and I went too far away, I couldn't remember where it was that I died and how to get back there exactly, because there's no map. And that is a very annoying omission. because the game isn't actually tense from a survival standpoint. You don't have to worry about enemies really. You'll come across things that, I guess they were all bugs that I was fighting. They seem large for bugs, but I fought some things and none of them were ever challenging. Some of them, if not all of them, when I would attack them, I would push them back so that they would kind of reset their attack, and then I would just repeat that process. So I was never concerned when I ran into a hostile enemy, at least that far into the game. So there's no tension there. The hunger meter is a little annoying. I feel like your hunger went down rather quickly, but you can get food pretty easily and cook it up and deal with that without much thought. But the survival mechanics were just more annoying than anything else. And I think about something like Grounded, which is a gold standard in how to handle the survival elements of a game, where I think it has its base difficulties that will adjust the sliders as they do, but then you can go in there and adjust each individual slider yourself and do a custom difficulty. So you can make it that you get hungry or thirsty much slower, or you get tired much slower, or this enemy will do less damage to you, you'll do more damage, or so on and so forth. And you can make it so that it is way less cumbersome on you in terms of all of those things you have to manage, which I think is a necessity with any game like this. And if nothing else, I think you should have some kind of difficulty option. Maybe there wasn't, I just forgot it. I missed it. But if nothing else, I think survival games should have a normal mode, a more like Iron Man type mode, a very brutal one, and then a casual. You don't have to worry about cold at all. You don't have to worry about hunger or food or thirst or anything like that at all. It's just here. You want to play the game and not worry about all these subsystems, that's fine. But yeah, Winter Burrow surprised me with how much I wasn't enjoying it from a mechanical standpoint. And also, I don't think it felt particularly good. So yeah, not my cup of tea. Demonschool, on the other hand, I put a few hours into this. I really, really, really like this. I'm one, fantastic pixel art, fantastic music so far. Where I'm a little concerned is in the story. I think in what I experienced so far, the writing's pretty solid. Solid writing. It's all text, no voice acting, at least so far. And I assume that if you had some voice acting, you would at least open it with some opening cinematic, but that's not an issue. What I'm a little worried about with the story is that I've seen a lot of comparisons to Persona, but it's not as well written as that one. But then it seems to be a much more linear game. When you are going through your day, because it takes place over the course of weeks, and I think it's 10 weeks to finish the game, 10 weeks until the apocalypse comes. But when you're going about your day, and it'll happen in segments, afternoon, evening, you can talk to random NPCs who have speech bubbles above them, but they have nothing to say. You'll just have a dude holding a skateboard who says, "Hey man, I love grinding. You think I can grind on these gravestones?" Like, okay, great. But you can't actually create connections with characters, whether they be party members or specific NPCs like you can in a Persona game. You can't go talk to this student, hang out, spend the day with them, learn more about them, build this relationship with them that will create a link and so on and so forth. There's none of that. It's very, very linear to the point where what you're really doing or what I was doing very quickly on any given day at any point was just finding out where the next significant interaction was that would progress the story and move everything forward, and just do that. So the story doesn't feel as open as a Persona game, which is a little bit of a bummer. I was hoping for a bit more of that, a way to build relationships, but it doesn't seem like the game cares about that. It's got its story, it's telling it, and it's fine. It's a solid story. Where the game shines, though, is in its gameplay. The gameplay is this tactics-based puzzle-type system where you're in, essentially, I think everyone, maybe some will be a little bit different shape, but they seem to be square-based grids, and you are taking on waves of enemies. They'll spawn in as they do, but what you're doing is trying to defeat a certain number of enemies and then get to the other side to complete the fight. And you're also trying to prevent any of them from getting to your side and breaking the barrier and winning the battle that way, or all your characters die. But it has a very puzzly nature to it because these are all predetermined battle setups, so that I'm sure if you looked up a guide, you could find the perfect way to min-max each and every battle. And you have the score you need, so you might have to kill 15 enemies to reach that objective and then be able to go to the other side and win. And then you have a par number that says how many turns they expect you to finish this battle in order to get the highest rating, which is an A rating. So it has a lot of kind of like chessy, checkers type of feel to just the inherent nature of the combat. But then the actual combat is this tactics thing where everything is based on turn. So it's turn-based. You have a pool of action points that are for all of your characters. Each character doesn't have their own individual action points. You have a pool of 8 or 9, somewhere between like 8 and 10 action points, and you use these for all of your characters. And the way moving your characters and performing actions works is that with each character, their first action takes up 1 action point, then their second 2, and so on and so forth, consecutively more and more, so that you can just focus on a single character, but obviously it's going to cost more and more for each additional action. So it makes sense to use all your characters, but then they can also complement each other. There is this sidestep mechanic, so that if you need to move a character one side to the left or right to get them in place to attack enemies, that counts as a free action. Your characters have specials that will do certain things, whether it be an area effect attack. One of your characters, if they attack and kill an enemy with their special, they don't use up any action points, which is very useful. Healer can't harm enemies, but they can buff your other characters to give them attack up, or heal them and heal themselves if they're in need of health. Hitting enemies does your traditional thing where if you create a row of enemies, you'll push them into each other, do damage to all of them. I've played only a few hours of it. There's a huge skill tree, so I'm sure the gameplay just gets more and more. There's more and more depth to it, because I went to the store and I saw an ability that would allow me to teleport myself from one side of the space to the other, which I could see being very, very useful. But from what I played, I love the gameplay. It is so up my alley, being a huge fan of Into the Breach as I am. I see similarities there. The only difference here is that while Into the Breach is often called a puzzle game, I think you can look at any tactics game as a puzzle game. And I get a little defensive when people call Into the Breach a puzzle game and not a tactics game, because I think they're being a little bit dismissive of it and the strategy involved in it. The fact that it's all randomized takes away a bit of the puzzly nature of it to me. But this is not randomized, so it is very, very puzzly, and you can try and get perfect runs every time if you want. You can redo a thing. I love that you can rewind and fast forward or go back and forward one action when you're creating anything, because the way it works is that on your turn you're doing all this thing, you're setting up this cascade and these series of actions, and then when you're done you hit the play out your action button, and then you watch everything play out in the order that you set it all up, which is very, very satisfying. It plays very, very well. It looks great. It sounds great. Story's decent, though I am concerned that's my main concern of the game. My only real concern is that I don't think the story will be... I don't think it's going to have the legs that I would like to have, because it feels very, very linear. But what I played of the combat has me very, very excited to play more. So yeah, I'm very, very impressed by Demonschool at first blush. By Sweet Carole. Well, no. Strike Force Heroes. I've completely missed that one. Strike Force Heroes is an arena shooter that has this single player campaign where you're really you might do some missions where you're moving around a little bit, doing a bit of platforming, trying to avoid lasers, and then you get to a space that it just turns into an arena shooter where you're taking on waves of enemies, and then you finish the level, but it feels very multiplayer focused, and you just have this kind of tacked on single player. It doesn't look good. It doesn't play well. It wasn't fun. It falls into the same space as something like a Mercenary Kings, somewhat in its structure, but way worse in terms of feel and look and it's just, I was hoping for something in the kind of, and it almost feels like it's trying to, or wants to be that, something like now I'm forgetting the name of it. I played it earlier with my friend, and I even mentioned it. Now I'm blanking on it. That pixel thing with all the Broforce? Yeah, Broforce. With all the movie references and TV show references. I was hoping for something a bit more like that, but Strike Force Heroes just, it doesn't play well, doesn't look great, doesn't sound great. The mission structure is very, very boring. Just a lot of arena shooting. So you're in these small spaces, and then I think they have this with a lot of the side missions where now you're just doing a capture the flag game, basically, or here's a team deathmatch. It's just that is thrown into a kind of single player structure, wherein it's clear the main meat of the game is to play with others. Didn't really do anything for me. By Sweet Carole, though, to get back to that, this is, if you remember, the game that was kind of eye-catching in that it had that look of classic 2D Disney animation, but then there was this kind of ominous thing going on, and it was all in this adventure game-like structure. I played a few hours of this, and it didn't grab me. I didn't care about the story. After the 2 hours, I thought to myself, well, what have I really been doing? What is the point of that? What is this story? What is this telling? I'm an orphan, I think, in an orphanage, and I don't like it here. They don't treat me well. I got this note from, or I got this. What am I doing here? Why am I doing this? what's going on? And the game, as it plays, is very classic adventure gaming in that you're going around collecting items, combining them, and then using them to progress and so on and so forth. But it's not very, very engaging. And visually, I don't know if this is a stylistic choice. The resolution seems low, so that especially when it zooms in, things are not high detail, they're not sharp. And I don't know if that's a stylistic choice or just a means of doing the thing. So, but also, while it does give off that classic Disney look, you can definitely see where they cut corners, which isn't a problem because I think overall it's effective. But in the area I just got through, where you're going back and forth in this place and you're trying to avoid this bunny butcher who is constantly chasing you as my alarm goes off, I found the whole adventure mechanic very, very annoying. The adventure game structure of it very annoying and tedious. It reminded me, that area too, of Little Nightmares a little bit, where you're dealing with the chef in that game. But because this is an adventure game, you're just going through the same area back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and dealing with this character. I'm just like, fucking leave me alone already, you stupid, angry, ugly bunny. Just let me do this shit. I'm sick of doing this running and hiding mechanic. It's very annoying. And it does get a little bit more interesting when you can transform between your normal self and your bunny self, which the bunny self allows you to move faster and jump over gaps and do double jumping. But it doesn't feel particularly good, any of that mechanically. You can also, I don't know if this is a repeated mechanic later in the game because it's not super long, but I was able to transport myself into this head of this dude who was helping me. His head was cut off and I was able to go in there, and then I could get my head smashed and then get through small gaps, or get lit on fire and then light other things on fire with that. But it just didn't grab me the way I wish it did, because it has that look. It's a game that you look at and you see it and you're like, ooh, this looks very, very cool. I like what this game is putting out there. And then you play and it's like, oh, this is all this is. I almost wish it was just an interactive movie where you're watching it and then you're eventually being asked to make decisions, like more of a choose your own adventure type thing, kind of a maybe Until Dawny, but without the time where you're actually moving the characters and doing any of that stuff. Just ask me every now and again, do you want to go down this corner or that corner? And then you'll have multiple endings and stuff like that. I kind of wish it was more of that, because when it shows me that, there's a vibe there that I like. But when I start playing the game, I'm like, oh, I don't like this. That is by Sweet Carole. Last two, Kitten is Bomberman-like, but it's level-based with puzzles. They're very simple, straightforward puzzles. There's no thought in the puzzles. You just have to get to the steps to move on to the next level. And in a few of the levels near the end of the batch, the stairs will be hidden under one block, so you just have to destroy everything until you find them. But you're just clearing out blocks so that you can reach that, and that's pretty much what you're always doing. And in some cases, there might be enemies you're avoiding, but they don't chase after you. They just go on their designated path. So there's not much challenge there. There's not much thought there. It's an easy achievement game. I played it for, I don't know, maybe a half hour. Got all, I think it's one of those 2,000 achievement games, which is always weird when a game launches with 2,000. How there are no rules anymore. It's annoying. I wish there was a kind of trophy system. I don't know. But super easy achievement / trophy game if you're looking for that. Plays fine, looks fine. It's like, oh, it's just, there's no challenge or thought required or involved in it, which is a little unfortunate. Because I love Bomberman. I played the shit out of Super Bomberman R, I think it's what it is. Haven't played the second one, but I played so much of the first one that I think I got all the achievements in that, which is not, that's a very tedious process. I think it was most tedious because there is some stuff where it's like, you have to complete this number of matches this way, or you have to kill every enemy on screen this many times. It's just like, oh my God, I have to force myself to get into this situation to do it. I love that game though, so it's very, very fun. But that is again Bomb Kitten. And the last game is Square Brothers. This is a puzzle game where you control two brothers, one who is tall and thin, and the other one that's short and wide. And you swap between them freely, and you use them to get through specific gaps that only they can get to, and then move them to different areas that allow the other one to get on top of the other one, and so on to reach a different height. And you use them to help each other out to eventually reach the door to complete the level and all that good jazz. Levels are pretty well designed, a little finicky in the platforming where I feel like it can be it's just where I'm trying to make this jump and it's not exactly working. So it can be a little finicky, but I think that's just inherent to the nature of having these specific pixel-sized characters who can get into these very specific gaps, and in order to make it so that the other one can't, I think they could probably open it up a little bit more, because and the other ones, they're so different. I mean, it's basically one's tall, one's on its side, that they won't be able to then get into those areas. Probably adjust the levels a little bit to make it a bit smoother. But for what it is in that puzzle space where you have to constantly go back and forth, solid, decent level designs and all that. Decent little game. Yeah. That is against Square Brothers. And that is going to do it for this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to the Sausage Dump where I talk about this, that, and whatever. Well, I think I'm going to get rid of the Sausage Dump moniker and just be like, okay, I'm just going to post stuff whenever. It doesn't need to be called the Sausage Dump. Why are you doing that? I feel like having this Sausage Dump title is inhibiting me in some ways. But yeah, you got that, as well as a private Discord channel and some fancy Discord roles depending on your tier, of course. Or you could just support me if that is your fancy. That is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye.
It's go time. Go daddy.